Welcome everyone. I'm Shivani Gupta. With me is political editor Aman Sharma, and we're here decoding the government's first official press conference as far as Operation Sindoor is concerned. Earlier, we had a statement which talked about some of the details, but actually, if you look at this press conference, more details have come out. And interestingly, I think this is a fallout of what happened after the airstrikes or surgical strikes earlier. This time around, the government has, in the very first press conference, come out and given pictures and even videos of the sites that have been targeted. We'll break down the sites in just a bit. But Aman, significant that the government has come out with, sabut, as they say.
The proof is there. So I think the opposition now doesn't need to go
or
and
anybody else in the world
just go and hunt कि सबूत कहाँ है कि आपने destroy किया. सबूत वैसे भी है शिवानी, because Pakistan has itself admitted that there have been surgical strikes by India. The locations, number of locations differ from what the Pakistan version is and what the Indian version is. But I think there is no doubt that there have been big strikes, and within 25 minutes, between 1:05 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. Within 25 minutes, India has done a strike on 21 locations. And all these are, I would say, term them as terrorist headquarters of the Jaish, of the LET. And I think departure from Balakot, in a way that in Balakot, we had attacked a Jaish center, one of the training centers, one of them. Now we are going after really the tap of terror. We're trying to shut off the tap. We are going after the terrorist headquarters. Who would have thought that India can bomb Bhavalpur, which is deep inside Pakistan, or bomb Muridke, which is just a stone throw's distance from Lahore, and that too, LET Hafiz Saeed's headquarters, Maulana Masood Azhar's headquarters has been bombed by India, and I think it's the biggest surgical strike ever by India, much bigger in impact than Balakot or after the Uri, the ground surgical strikes. And the government's briefing also, we can show this on the screen, it is visible. The locations all listed out, 21 locations listed out, the spots listed out, what kind of strikes have been done has been listed out, evidence has been provided, live videos.
And also the significance of those sites. For example, we must focus on Muridke and Bahawalpur, because Bahawalpur is the epicenter of Jaish-e-Mohammed. This is where Maulana Masood Azhar actually carries out even his sermons from. Let's not forget he's a Maulana. And actually the masjid of the compound has also been attacked. In many places, masjids, which are front covers for training and for sermoning, have been attacked. Bahawalpur is actually the farthest across the IB.
Yes.
The international border. And in fact, if you watch some of the international coverage, our sister concern CNN in America, for example, one of their correspondents in Islamabad was talking about how their crew members in Islamabad, their homes were shaking because of these strikes. So you can understand the impact on ground that these strikes have had. That picture is on your screen. I'm just going to read out some of these. Most of these are camps of Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba, but even Hizbul Mujahideen, which we don't talk about or hear about too much these days, has been attacked. And in Bahawalpur, interestingly, in the press conference, it was mentioned, in Muridke, for example, it was mentioned that the 2008 perpetrators were trained in Muridke. So we're going back as far back as 2008 to avenge. Maybe some would say, why didn't we do this then and only now? But in Muridke, David Headley and Ajmal Kasab were trained in Muridke. This is the significance of these sites. I think Muridke and Bahawalpur are the biggest names on this list.
Are the biggest names. As I was explaining earlier, Shivani, these are the terrorist headquarters. And what we had been learning from the government also in the past few days, when we were all speculating that when will this strike happen, government sources are very clear that we want to go after the root of terror in Pakistan. We want to end Pakistan-sponsored terror for good. That was always the intention, and I would take you back to the Prime Minister's statement in the Bihar Patna rally, when he said that आतंकियों की बची कुची जमीन को भी मिट्टी में मिला देने का समय आ गया है. So this was, I think, Prime Minister proving true to his words that we will go after the real terror sanctuaries, because we have tried to check the flow of terror earlier, but the tap is still on, so we have to shut off the tap now. And I think that is why I see the kind of strike which has happened, the impact of it, the scale of it. Yes, it may have taken a couple of days more than we took in Uri or Balakot.
Yes.
But yes, it is very, very clear that India has decided that it is going to go after the terror camps in a big way, and that is why we are seeing what has happened.
Yes, so let me just read out these names that we have got. So on the list are 21 targets. Some of them are in the same sites, but you can see that map. Most of them are in Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir. But the ones which are down from Jammu and Kashmir are the ones that are actually across the international border. And this is not just one side, Balakot, anymore. These are multiple sites. So there's Barnala, Memuna, Joya, Sarjal, Muridke, Bahawalpur. These are on the other side of the international border. And above that, Balakot is also there, number 9 on that list. So again, this has been targeted. Savai Nala, Sayyid Nambilal, Maskare Aksa, Chela Bandi, Abdullah bin Masood, Dulai, Gari Habibullah, Batrasi, Balakot, Ogi, Boi, Sensa, Gulpur, Kotli, Barali, Dungi. And then I have already mentioned Barnala, Memuna, Joya, Sarjal, Muridke, and Bahawalpur. So 21 sites. Interesting are also, the messaging of the Indian government seems to be, Aman, that, this is not just about Pahalgam alone. Of course, this is Operation Sindoor to avenge the husbands, the fathers, sons who have been killed. They were singled out. The men were singled out in that attack, and the women were told, go and tell your government, go tell Modi what we have done. So this is, of course, Operation Sindoor for that reason. But the video that played before this press conference also talked about some of the earlier big dastardly attacks.
It shows the Pakistan's history of fomenting, sponsoring terror into India. And, in his briefing, Mr. Vikram Misri, the foreign secretary, if I quote him, he also said that the features of the Pahalgam attack tie up with Pakistan's long track record of perpetrating cross-border terror, right from the Parliament attack of 2001 to the various other terror strikes that India has seen, to Uri, to Pulwama, to Pathankot Air Base attack. All these strikes were listed out by India, that the Operation Sindoor is a revenge, of course, for Pahalgam, for Operation Sindoor. The name itself, Shivani, approved by the Prime Minister himself. I am told Narendra Modi himself came up that this should be the name, because Hindu tourists were deliberately targeted. The men of the family were targeted. They were brutally killed, shot in the head.
In front of their wives. Some of them were newlywed couples.
Yes, so it was like, this is an emotional, I think, also messaging also. And, we saw 2 women officers at the briefing of Operation Sindoor. That's also, I think, very, very significant. The government is doing its messaging here that, this is a move also to assuage the anger which was there in the country. Vikram Misri, in fact, mentioned that in his briefing. I think more importantly, what he said, that, we have gone into this strike because Pakistan did not act against these terror camps for all this while, even not in the last fortnight, when we are seeing, Lashkar and Jaish, both are globally proscribed organizations. Their leaders are globally proscribed terrorists. How are these camps working in Pakistan? That is the question that India is raising, and I think India will raise this in the global forum to justify its strike. That, Pakistan itself had a chance to shut down these camps, shut down these headquarters of terror. They are not doing it. Instead, these terror is being fermented into Pahalgam and other parts of the country from this terror center. That is why we have gone on attack.
And such is the skullduggery of Pakistan as far as its action on terror figures and heads in Pakistan is concerned. Of course, we know that during the FATF grey list years, they acted a little bit, but we know that those were sham on Hafiz Saeed or Maulana Masood Azhar and other LET operatives, etc. They're effectively glorified, on glorified house arrest. They're actually state protected assets in Pakistan. But, interestingly, Mr. Misri talked about how he gave the example of Sajid Mir.
Yeah.
This known terrorist.
Yeah.
He says Sajid Mir was declared dead by Pakistan. And it is only after international pressure that it was found कि वो तो जीवित है, जैसे मिस्री जी ने कहा कि वो मर गए थे लेकिन फिर उसके बाद जिंदा हो गए. So, this is the kind of hoodwinking that Pakistan does that India wanted to call out. I also want to draw your attention to the fact that Mr. Misri said, Aman, that more attacks were in the offing.
Yes.
More attacks were being planned, and this is why it was absolutely necessary for us to act.
Absolutely. He says this strike is not only to deter further attacks, but also to stop further attacks. It's like active terror plotting is being done to harm India. So it was incumbent upon India, to do this strike in the way we have done. It's a non-escalatory strike. Very important words again.
Yes.
And the woman officer, in fact, after in the end of the press conference, said that if Pakistan now retaliates, it will be seen as an escalation by India, and India is very well prepared to defend itself. So I think those are also very strong words, especially after what Mr. Khwaja Asif is now saying, the defense minister, that please don't attack us more.
If you stop here, then we will not retaliate.
We will not retaliate. I am sure Pakistan-sponsored terror may be pushed by Pakistan to retaliate, not Pakistan state itself, if that is the case. And India will be upping its, preparation on that. But also, Shivani, I think to go a bit into the backstory of this strike, I think it's very, very interesting, because still a couple of days ago, we also in the newsroom have been discussing that in 11, Uri was avenged in 11 days, Pulwama was avenged in 12 days, now it's 13 days, 14 days. Why the delay? Why the delay?
Aman, I'm stopping you because we are just getting very big news. Obviously, the high value targets is what India wants to know what has happened. We are getting information, and we will, of course, wait for more verification from the government. But it could be possible that 10 family members of Masood Azhar have been killed in this strike. Imagine how big that will be. Sister, brother-in-law, and few more who have been killed in this strike. Because remember, visuals from Pakistan show the extent of the damage. So nobody can deny that. Their own news coverage is focusing on hospitals and how many bodies, etc., or injured are coming in. But if you look at some of the first videos that have come in of, for example, this masjid at Bahawalpur, the people, the bystanders are like, Sari masjid gir gayi, Sari masjid gir gayi. And they're talking about ki sab mar gaye, sab mar gaye. Now, of course, we were waiting to hear what is the high value targets that India has managed. This is just the update we're getting just now. We'll, of course, wait to hear more.
Yes, see, I think India is very, very clear that we have attacked terrorist headquarters of Jaish and LET. Now, who was present there? Of course, our intelligence is obviously terrorists are present there. Pakistan is trying to portray and maybe trying to mislead by saying that civilians have been killed, while the fact is that in the Pakistan, the shelling which has happened later in areas like Poonch, many innocent Indian civilians have lost their lives. We'll await the number, but the word that is coming is that a significant number of Indian civilians may have lost their lives in the cross-border shelling by Pakistan.
That's also happening
that is also happening right now, and India will put out those figures in due course. But it is very, very clear to me that this strike on also the global platforms. If you see the US or what Russia has also been saying, all the major countries which have backed India said India has a right to defend. They said India has also a right to respond, but don't make it into a regional war. Don't make it like a South Asia should not go to war. That's what the US also said. J.D. Vance statement was also there. That was also what other major powers have said. And I think India, as a nuclear power, as a big power, has acted in a very responsible manner. We are also putting out videos and pictures of these spots which have been targeted. The kind of munitions which have been used are in a way to minimize the collateral damage. But of course, the fact is that if such a strike at 21 locations is going to happen, 9 strikes, and importantly, we have done this strike from our side of the border.
Yeah.
We have not really crossed the border like we did.
We haven't had to go in.
No, because we have that capability now since 2019, that kind of capability, and we'll wait on what kind of weapons have been used. We're not going to that because the government has not revealed it so far. But it is very clear that India now has the capability to act even from inside its border and hurt Pakistan very, very gravely. And that capability has been shown in this particular strike.
You were talking about the significance as far as the messaging in this press briefing is concerned, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Possibly the most important statement in this press conference, Aman, is when I think it was the representative of the Air Force, Vermica, Wing Commander Vermica, who talked, said, if Pakistan retaliates and goes up the escalation matrix, then, be wary of what comes after that. So it was a very strict warning that, don't act or retaliate on this. If you do, we are ready to, rain hell and fury on you. More details. For example, the Circle Camp in Sialkot, 6 kilometers from the international border. In March 2025, J&K policemen, 4 policemen were martyred. That attack was planned from terrorists in that camp. I talked about Murid K, 18 to 15 kilometers away from the IB. The 2008 Mumbai attack was planned there, including David Headley and Ajmal Kasab. Of course, we've talked about Markaz Subhanallah, which is the Jaish camp. These are all, fronts. These are places which may have, so-called very innocent sounding training centers or mosques as far as their complexes are concerned. But we all know what goes on as far as these camps are concerned. Gulpur camp in Kotli, 30 kilometers from the LOC. Lashkar camp, this was active in Poonch and Rajouri. Their terrorists were active in Poonch and Rajouri. They attacked tourists in the months gone by. There is Barnala, 9 kilometers from the LAC, Bimber, 13 kilometers from the LAC. So just some of the details that are coming in as far as these attacks are concerned. Now, of course, the biggest update that we're getting is that 10 members of the Jaish-e-Mohammed chief, Maulana Masood Azhar, could have been killed in this airstrike. This is the one that we're talking about in Bahawalpur, which is why we talked about how Bahawalpur is the most important strike as far as this is concerned. But I want to come on the message onto Pakistan, because on international media, some Pakistani establishment leaders, ministers are going and saying that, we are going to retaliate. But Asif Khwaja just said a short while ago on an international media that, see, if India stops here, we may not do anything, but you better stop here. There is this civilian versus military fight in Pakistan. But the point is, Aman, that civilian government does not do the decision making.
Absolutely.
It is Asim Munir and it is the Pakistani army, which is in complete control of Asim Munir and, of course, his very jihadi mindset. I don't think that they will rest here. Let's be honest.
I think so. Also, I think Khwaja's words, and Khwaja is a bit of a mota mouth as well. I don't think we should take it as Pakistan's official policy so far. I think Asim Munir and co would be wanting to retaliate. Last time also after Balakot had happened, next day Pakistani F-16s had breached our airspace, and the dogfight which ensued saw F-16 going down and Abhinandan being captured by Pakistani authorities and released. So that did escalate the next day. So far, the Pakistani escalation is limited to the border. They are doing heavy shelling on the line of control. That is what is happening. But will Pakistan plan something bigger? See, Shivani, there are a couple of things I would like to say here. India's what happened in 2019 was also because our air defense was not as strong as it is now. We have the S-400s from Russia. We have 3 squadrons of it now. It is very, very difficult for Pakistan to breach our airspace now with a missile or with a plane, because the S-400 will shoot it down from a big distance, 200, 250, 300 kilometers. Also, we have the Rafales, which may have been used in the present strike. I'm still speculating because it is not confirmed. But the Rafales with the French Scalp missiles can fire at any target in Pakistan from inside Indian territory. It is capable of doing that. So I think Indian capability to defend itself and also to launch an offensive attack is much, much more than 2019 with the addition of the Rafale, the BrahMos, and the S-400. And the Pakistan is also very well aware of that. So I think Pakistan's attempt to do a retaliation, it may have the intent, but will it be able to do it in the fashion India has done just ahead of its IMF bailout coming up on 9th? Will it risk making such a big escalation before the FATF grey zone thing coming up later this month? Will Pakistan want to do that, or will Pakistan wait it out and let one of its terror outfits take the so-called revenge on India? So that is something that India obviously is wary of. And I must tell you that Defense Minister Rajnath Singh today in the morning, Shivani, he spoke to all the 3 service chiefs, obviously congratulated them for the brilliant strike which has happened in Pakistan. But immediately the big focus of his call also was, how well are we prepared?
Now what?
Are we well prepared to stop a Pakistani retaliation? What is our preparation? So I think the mock drill which was to happen today is now a real drill for India, because India does not want any big damage outside, away from its border, much inside in the hinterland. No way. India is not going to allow Pakistan to do that. And if Pakistan does that, I think the Indian retaliation could get even bigger, and then it could become a spiral. So let's see what Pakistan does.
I think Pakistan is going to be very aware of the fact that, one, they don't want to get into a conventional full-scale war with India. This is as much their problem as ours, to be honest, and concerned. But I also feel you look at the statement that China has given earlier today. So China called India's strikes regrettable. But other than that, I think there was more a message to Pakistan saying, let's not escalate from here on. In that statement that China put out today, it almost gave a message. I think if you read between the lines, Pakistan got the message that let's not do anything now. Let's not let this escalate, because then this will go out of hand. Because I think the international community also understands that you can't really stop India from acting anymore. Right? In that video, interestingly, that played during the press conference, the last plate was no more. They showed the history of Pakistan bad terror attacks in India and said no more. So that if India was to achieve its operational its goal, which even Prime Minister talked about, that jo bachi kuchi zameen hai in terrorist ki usko tabah karna hai. But if India has to achieve that goal, Aman, I don't think we can stop here.
We can't stop here. But I think this is a significant blow what has happened today, because as I was saying, the tap has been turned off for now. It is like the terror has been struck by India into the minds of the terrorists of Pakistan. Very, very deep strikes. The volume of the strikes, the impact of the strike, it may have lasted only 25 minutes, but I think the damage which India has caused will last many years upon Pakistan, and especially the Pakistani proscribed the proscribed terror outfits, flourishing on Pakistani soil. I think Pakistan has also do a lot to answer to the world now. That if it was running off to the UN a couple of days back, asking for closed door sessions. But what are proscribed organizations, headquarters of Jaish, of Lashkar, doing on your soil?
Doing on your soil.
That's and if the details we have got of this Bhavalpur, Markaz Subhanallah, Jaish-e-Mohammed Bhavalpur, this Markaz serves as the operational headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed, associated with the terrorist planning, including the Pulwama attack on February 14, 2019. Perpetrators of Pulwama were trained at this particular Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters, and this is located on National Highway 5 of Pakistan. It is not in some
in full view. No, it's not hidden really.
It's like Osama bin Laden hiding in Abbottabad. It's very much there, and so it's this is a main center of JEM. It's spread over 15-acre area. That's what the government is telling us through the details which have been put out, and it's the operational headquarters. This is one of the biggest strikes, in fact, and the death toll we are putting out is from here, that the family of JEM Maulana Azhar could have died in this particular attack, because, and this is also Maulana Masood Azhar Shivani is somebody who has been in the protective custody of Pakistani authorities.
He's
for very long.
Effectively being protected by them. I mean, so it is so called that he has been sentenced. Another elite operative has been sentenced, but sentenced and then what? It's not like they're rotting in jail, first of all. And anyways, India has been demanding these terrorists, right? They're most wanted in India. Forget that. Chalo, Pakistan is not going to give them to us. But they're also not in jails or prisons. They're actually high-valued state protectees in Pakistan. I've got an eyewitness account from Muridke, which is the other big site, which this operation took place. So there's the local there who says at around 12:45 in the night, first drone came, following by 3 other drones, and they attacked the mosque. Everything is crushed. So basically, the fronts are the mosque building, but it's not religious activity that is going on. But clearly, very precise. The words used by the press conference today were calibrated, measured, precise, and non-escalatory. Those are the messages that, you better not retaliate to this because you have no face to retaliate to this. But like we were discussing, the Pakistani army and especially Asim Munir is not going to be seen as just sitting and taking it, unless both US and China are able to put that much pressure on the Pakistani military establishment that they don't do anything. But the military is not official military alone. I mean, all of this Jaish-e-Mohammed, Hizbul, TRF is the front that conducted these strikes, took the responsibility of the Pahalgam attack, then said, after India's Prime Minister's message, then said, no, somebody, hacked our accounts and we did an internal audit and we have nothing to do with this. Pakistan minister is saying in parliament, we got the TRF reference removed from the UN statement. I mean, this is the country we're dealing with. So they have other mechanisms to continue to hit India.
Vikram Misri said that in the press conference, that one should take note of the way Pakistan has claimed credit for removing the name of the resistance front from the UNSC statement. Well, to wrap it up, we are almost half an hour into this, and to wrap it up, I think I would like to wrap it up with Donald Trump's statement. It's a classic Donald Trump statement, completely playing to all sides. We started off by saying it's a shame, which Pakistan is now playing up, saying Donald Trump has pulled up India. But our Donald Trump has said, we knew something's going to happen. India's not going to sit quiet. We knew they will do something. They have done something. We just hope it ends here. So I think what Donald Trump is saying may be the cue for India, for Pakistan, for the world to take, that maybe India has done something. India has avenged Pahalgam, Operation Sindoor, getting justice for the families of the 26 Pahalgam victims. We have done that. We have turned off the tap of terror for now. The onus is also in Pakistan to ensure that these facilities don't spring up again. It's a favor also to Pakistan, because Pakistan also claims to be a victim of terror. So we have come and done a service at your land, turned off the tap of terror in your land. Please don't let it come up again. Please don't retaliate, because if you retaliate, I think the Indian escalation will be very, very stiff. And then it could extend, Shivani, I may feel, to the Pakistani military establishment as well.
Yes. But can I just say, I differ with my good colleague, Aman Sharma. There is a sense that this is going to somehow debilitate these terrorist organizations' ability to hurt us in the interim, in the short run, but also degrade their ability to hire more terrorists or recruit more. I don't believe in this. I'm sorry to say, the religious indoctrination and brainwashing that makes these terrorists, that's not going to go away. It's a very powerful force. Terrorists anyways have a very small shelf life. They get killed, but they come, they know that we will get killed, right? This is jihad. You don't really turn off the tap of jihad without dealing with this source, and the source has to be, in this case, the Pakistani army. And I'm sorry to say, the all the statements from the Indian government have also been indicating to the fact that this time it is not just about the perpetrators. I remind you all of that statement. It is also about the backers and the handlers. So perpetrators attack may have happened. What about the backers and the handlers? That is pending, that is remaining. And until India does that, there is no end to this battle. These people will not stop. They will not stop. Pakistan's entire reason of being is anti-India. You think that the entire machinery is going to shut off with these 21 targets? No. So let's not fool ourselves. In fact, I will only quote as I end former Army Chief Manoj Naravane, who said on Twitter on his public profile, "Picture abhi baki hai." Let's hope his words are true. Thanks a lot for watching.
Thank you so much.